Hey lunatics, welcome to the fourth episode of the Terra Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Joseph, from Casa Crypto. This week we're going to be covering the latest and greatest news that have occurred in the Terra ecosystem from the time period of January 21st to January 28th. There was plenty going on this week. It was a heavy price action week. It wasn't exactly the greatest price action week if you ask me, but if you're trying to accumulate Luna, why complain about low price Luna? First and foremost, I want to remind everyone that nothing that you hear in this video is going to be financial advice. Please take everything I say with a grain of salt, and let's hop straight into it. So first up this week, we're going to be talking about the broader Terra ecosystem and TFL shenanigans. The biggest news that's coming this week from Terra Labs is going to be the bridge, the cross-chain bridge that is launched on the XLR network, and it's going to be called Satellite. This cross-chain bridge is going to be massive in terms of being able to transfer your UST and Luna across a vast multi-chain environment. And this is going to be including the likes of the Phantom Network, Avalanche, Ethereum, Polkadot, now called Moonbeam Network, and then also the Polygon Matic Network. This is just essentially another step in the grand trajectory of the ecosystem, which is to become the superior form of stablecoin money. And this is going to be a great step in the direction of becoming a staple in NFTs on the Solana chain. It's going to be the kind of staple of DeFi that's on Ethereum. It's going to be the staple of several and many to come chains in the future. So super excited to be seeing this being implemented by the team. Next up, we're going to be talking about a community spend proposal that was launched yesterday, January 27th. This is going to be proposal 180, and it's specifically to bootstrap an Ethereum-based DEX. It's going to be through Zigzag Exchange. They're requesting about $15 million worth of UST, so definitely a significant amount that they're asking and requesting for. But considering that it is expanding the direction of the ecosystem and kind of just bootstrapping more DeFi experiences, definitely something important that needs to be happening. Next up, we're going to be talking about Do Kwon. Can't report about TFL or just the Terra ecosystem without checking in on Do Kwon at least once a week. And Do Kwon this week decided to tweet yesterday, which was a significant bad price action day. And it mostly happened due to the relationship and the downfall of Time and Mim on the Phantom Network with Danielle and that whole team. Regardless, there were some accusations thrown out, essentially saying that Do Kwon and Terraform Labs have been skimming money off the top of the burn wallet. I've even seen some people speculate that they've been using the MIM degen box as a way to essentially take funds from people. Do Kwon takes this to rest, reveals all and everything that he has been paid for and received in form of salary, and he kind of just makes everyone realize that he is not the owner of this. He is not a profitable CEO. He is simply a person who is developing a product that he wants to succeed, and he does not succeed if it doesn't succeed. So I genuinely do support the direction he was going for here, and it's important to bring this up. Later on in the community shout out, we're going to be touching upon this and the need for leadership and leaders to kind of come to the table and rise the ecosystem. And it's really great to have Do Kwon's presence in times like these. Next up, and probably the biggest news in bullish news for the Terra ecosystem, is going to be the Proteus Finance news. As you can see here, this is a video of the very first transaction that has ever been done on a Terra-based UST debit card. And Proteus Finance last week announced their MasterCard partnership, and it has come to fruition. You can see that he is walking up to the cash register, and he is about to legitimately just transact with his debit card, and no one's going to ask any questions about it or bat an eye. And as you can see, it goes through the regular transaction and it accepts it. It goes approved. And it's really incredible to see this happening, because when this comes into the hands of the masses, when this is something that you can just sign up for and order and use and live off of, it's going to completely transform the game for the Terra ecosystem. It's going to onboard millions and millions of people who are interested in DeFi. Imagine you who are interested in DeFi right now knew that you could easily just make an account on Outlet and onboard and go cross-chain, multi-chain. The direction of the Terra ecosystem is unimaginable, and to see this happening so early, it's incredible. Just remember, guys, we are so early in this. Next up, we're going to be talking about Stader Labs. Stader Labs last week came off of a very, very bullish week. And it really, it's just a lot of things have been happening with them. So I really wasn't able to select one thread. Perhaps the biggest thing that has happened this week has been the fact that they launched their SD token, and their sale raked in about 6 million tokens for sale. You can see right here, it was about the highest registrations in CoinList history. About 6 million tokens just flew off the shelf. Incredible direction there. And today they also released a thread on their degen vault with Luna X. So definitely some interesting strategies here. Can expose yourself to some Luna and just keep accumulating. It seems like you can get some pretty good yields from strategies that are going to be developed here. So definitely be keeping an eye on this. Check out Stader Labs this week, guys. Okay, so next up, we're going to be talking about Anchor Protocol. Anchor Protocol has been hard at work. First up, they integrated the Ethereum cross-chain. They had to port over the BETH contracts through the wormhole so that you could natively have some Ethereum inside Terra. And now you have to essentially port over any BETH. If you've had some BETH collateral and Anchor for a while and you went through the whole DOA Finance in the very early stages, you will have to transfer this over to a collateralizable version that Anchor now supports. Next up, we're going to be talking about perhaps the biggest direction and most impactful thing to a Terra ecosystem user. It's going to be the Anchor proposal to increase the LTV borrow rate to 80%. That proposal is now live. This is definitely going to be bringing Anchor into the forefront of the borrowing in DeFi. It's going to be up there into the top classmen of Curve, and you'll be able to borrow significantly higher amounts of UST here. So very, very bullish for anyone who's trying to borrow and farm in the ecosystem. And lastly, Anchor token has been listed on Binance. Unfortunately, I don't think I noticed much of a price action boost from this. Typically, tokens do have kind of a pump from this. Unfortunately, I think the bad and bear news of this week were just too much for the listing to overcome. In bearish news, Prism has delayed the launch to February 1st. That is only 3 days from now, so I will be covering how this goes next week. And they've announced more launch information here. They go over their phases about how the forge is going to work. Put in money, you get Prism tokens out. Be prepared for it. It's just really unfortunate to kind of be seeing more and more delays. I hope that this isn't a trend. I hope that it isn't a pattern that we're going to be witnessing between protocols in the ecosystem. First Mars, now this. It's definitely not good for the short-term price action, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe we can just buy more cheap Luna. Next up, we're going to be talking about how Prism has selected their last cohort of their second cohort, of validators. And this week it's going to be given out to the teams over at Terra SCV, GT Capital, shout out to that great group of community creators, and then Seton.io. So that's going to be rounding out the last groups that are going to be selected for now, and sure, we're probably going to be hearing about more as we get near to launch. Next up is probably going to be the most interesting news I came across and can give you guys this week. This week I got my W-2 for taxes, and yeah, the IRS is open, so everyone who's an American citizen is probably getting that. But the great news is TrackTerra is launching. Apparently, back in November of 2021, there was a proposal asking to bootstrap this development effort, and it was a team asking for only 1,042 Luna tokens, at the time about $48,000. They were asking for that much just to bootstrap this endeavor, and it's strictly for tax reporting purposes, and you'll be able to extract the report and take it to Coinly, I believe, or yes, it will be able to extract to Coinly. So going to be a game changer if you're trying to report taxes. And for me, this is incredibly clutch. Very, very bullish on this one right here. Okay, we're going to be touching up on the quick news of the week. The quick news of the week this week were actually not that great, so we're just going to blow through these. Astroport had a quick UI update. They implemented some substantial upgrades in terms of adding in some more pairs onto their protocol, but Nexus has migrated their liquidity pairs here. And they've also improved the interfaces. You can now be able to see what you're selecting before you select it when you're swapping. And overall, just some quality of life changes. So definitely check out what they've done. Spectrum Protocol has started they continue their form of releasing immense amounts of vaults. And this week they released 6 new Mirror vaults and 8 new Astroport vaults. And they've also started doing a buyback and burn, trying to essentially make the spec token more scarce. And could see some more short-term green performance on the Spectrum token here. There's also some more polls that are live, and they are getting closer and closer to the second roadmap. So excited to see what the next direction that they have for taking the next step. Apollo DAO has been really busy this week. The war chest has claimed a significant amount of Astro tokens. We're talking 33.8k Apollo tokens and 22.4k Apollo tokens. This is just a step in the trajectory of essentially accumulating the tokens that they want. They want to be a hedge fund, and they want to manage the most important dexes and the most important protocols throughout the ecosystem. And Astroport is exactly what they want to hold. Next up, we're going to be covering Apollo's new introduction of SIG wallets, multi-SIG wallets. To be honest, not really sure, other than the fact that these are multi-party wallets that essentially multiple people can validate and control. It's no longer a singular person who can click approve or deny. It seems to be like multiple places. And Apollo developed this for their own protocol, but now they're giving it out to the rest of the community. And this is supposedly going to onboard a lot more DAOs to come into the ecosystem as well, since DAOs are multi-sig managed. Next up is going to be the Nexus protocol. Like I mentioned earlier, they've transferred their liquidity pools over to Astroport. So if you are a Nexus liquidity provider, don't forget to migrate. Definitely check this out. Next up is going to be Lighthouse DeFi. Last week I covered them because I went ahead and gave them, or I did their alpha test, and I was thoroughly impressed with it. And my biggest alpha that I wanted to share, but I couldn't, unfortunately, was their upcoming implementation of 2 new features that they're being sneak peeked. And it's going to be this automation side along with a swap feature. I'm probably expecting some form of anchor management in tandem with liquidation events. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we see a vault where they're automatically taking your AUST, putting it on for bid that you've borrowed on your anchor loan, and as soon as that fills, it just provides it back into your anchor position. And they aren't charging fees that Kuji is charging, so definitely great to see this competition arising. Next up, we're going to be talking about Kado. Definitely some unique bullish news here. I'd like to see it happen, but Kado has partnered with Leap Wallet to integrate essentially a fiat to UST swap right inside of the Leap Wallet. This is something that I haven't seen before or heard of. So when this comes through and actually happens, this is a huge case for becoming a great go-to wallet tandem, to be using Leap and to be using Kado as your onboard, offboard. Man, these onboarding wars are just getting started. It's crazy. Next up, we're going to be talking about Kuji. Kuji has redirected they've opened up some juicy little pools onto Loop Finance. They've actually had a pretty quiet week. They've hinted to the fact that they're going to be reworking the entire protocol here soon. But they did launch some of these nice little farms. You can get some really nice APYs here over at Loop Finance. So definitely check these pools out. Last up in the quick news, we still got a couple more. Next up is going to be Atlo. Atlo is going to be covering essentially their sale. They've launched their token. It's going to be KYC, so you have to register to go purchase it. The sale is live and will end January 31st. So be sure to go grab some Atlo tokens if you're bullish on them. Next up is going to be White Whale. They've been pretty quiet as of late, and this week they have only addressed that their first audit has come back clean. And we should be hearing soon about more of their depegging and being able to defend the peg of the ecosystem. Next up, we're going to be talking about Proteus. I've been covering a lot of Proteus because they've been trending in a very interesting direction, a very ambitious proposition of establishing a 150% APY on stablecoins. They have announced that they will be doing their first public round in March with StarTerra IO. And from what I recall, when StarTerra IO launched, it did not go exactly too well. I haven't read up much about StarTerra, but I do recall seeing some FUD, or at least some people not liking StarTerra, vehemently not liking it. So definitely going to be looking into this and seeing what this relationship develops, and more into the future, see if I want to secure some Proteus tokens. Okay, so this is going to conclude all the protocol related news, and we're going to be moving on to some community oriented ones. This week, I'd like to highlight Kanav. I'm sorry, I'm just going to butcher your name, but I'd like to shout out this thread. This thread came in perfect timing after the whole UST MIM backing in situation where they were unwinding the degen box position. So definitely give this a look. It puts to rest a lot of the controversy here, and it puts in perspective what's going on here. And my favorite tweet of them all was this one right here. And just remember that on these bearish days, the amount of Luna that is being burnt. You guys are investing in a never before seen before asset. This thing is deflationary. The best to come hasn't even been seen yet. So hang in there. Last up, we're going to be covering Donku's contributions to the community. Donku, again, coming in as the best Terra ecosystem creator, and he has finally put his sword away. A few weeks ago, he kind of crossed paths with Lunomics at Shio 808, another content creator, but mostly on the Terra Spaces and just tweet threads form. They both kind of argued about a strategy that Lunomics has published about using LP pairs to your advantage, using LP rewards and fees to essentially balance you so that you can accumulate an asset that you want. And Donku did an incredible job essentially explaining the strategy and explaining actually where the benefits come, because there was a misconception, and I know I had it at first, was that impermanent loss was the reason why you were accumulating Luna. But in reality, it's just the reward fees of the pool balancing. And you can essentially use it to your advantage in a downturn and accumulate some Luna at essentially a discount cost. So definitely look into this. Definitely check out this video. And that's going to close up this week's video. There was a lot of news to cover. Nothing too major bullish, nothing too major ending. I think that the biggest news this week has by far been the outlet finance. And of course, covering the situation with the degen box has been huge. I just can't express how excited I am for the future. And I really appreciate everyone that's been watching and tuning in. So please don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment. Please let me know what you think. If I grossly misrepresented something that happened this week, or if I missed something, let me know. I like to make sure that I'm catching things. And if you guys are catching things that I'm not, please reach out to me. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Joseph with Casa Crypto. I'll see you guys next week.